Hey y'all, Steve here. The biggest threat facing middle-aged men isn't smoking or obesity, it's loneliness. Today on Instagram, I made a little post indicating that I had run across this article from the Boston Globe, actually, and I would probably make a video about it this afternoon simply because the article just kind of intrigued me. It's really, as I read through it, I can understand that loneliness certainly can be a problem for, any of us, but certainly middle-aged men, as the article is referencing. There's a little shot where I printed the article out, and I will put the article I'll put a link to the article in the description for you. But I wanted to just kind of go through here. I've highlighted some stuff and maybe give you my thoughts on it because I am over 50 myself. I know a lot of guys that watch my channel are over 50. I have a pretty wide demographic from younger people to older people that watch my channel, and I know the ladies, some of the ladies watch the channel as well. It's probably more men than ladies, of course, but that's simply because of the subject matter. But you ladies are always welcome to watch the channel and make comments. I like that when it happens. But this article, let's see if I can find out. It's written by a guy named Billy Baker, and it was written back in March. So he was a reporter, and his editor gave him the assignment to write about middle-aged men and loneliness. So the fact that smoking and obesity, those are the things that immediately come to mind. That's definitely an epidemic there. But no one actually thinks about, as you get older and your friends leave you or they die or whatever, they move away, that you can get very lonely at times. So I just want to go through, and his assignment was to write about middle-aged men who have no friends. Now, fortunately, don't fall into that category. I have what I consider quite a few good friends. Maybe I'm one of the lucky ones. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones. Maybe not. Maybe you're feeling a little lonely at times also. But the editor said that there was a lot of evidence out there about how men, as they age, they let their friendships lapse. And that can cause all sorts of problems and have a terrible impact on their health. So I'm going to pause this video for 1 second because I've got a siren, of course, and that means the dogs are getting ready to kick up. So I will come back immediately once all this clears. Okay, making a video outside where I live is almost impossible some days. If my neighbor, if his seventh sense kicks in and he even thinks that I'm out here making a video, he's going to go crank up his lawnmower. So maybe I can get through this. But as he goes on writing the article, he recants his own experiences and every time. And one of the things he says is there were all those other good friends, he's speaking about himself, who feel as if they're still in my life because we keep tabs on one another through social media. But as I ran down the list of those I consider real, true, lifelong friends, I realized that it had been years since I'd seen many of them, even decades for a few. So when you lay it on the line and you think you have this large pool of friends, when you start going down the list and determining, okay, are these true friends? Are they acquaintances? Or is it somebody that I haven't even seen face to face in 20 years? Your list may actually get pretty short. Another thing he said as he was doing his research, I have friends at work and at the gym, but those are accidents of proximity. I rarely see those people anywhere outside those environments because when everything adds up, I have left almost no time for friends, and he has structured himself into being a loner. How many of us are loners? As in my younger day, man, I was crazy, outgoing, had lots of friends, did lots of things with lots of people. As I've gotten older, it's like, you know, as you get older, you become your parents or your dad or whatever, and you feel yourself kind of closing in. You throw up this shield around you, and your circle of friendships definitely get smaller. And then we try to fool ourselves into thinking that the people we work with, or we're at the gym, or people we go to church with, or whatever, we try to fool ourselves into thinking, oh, I've got all these friends, when you actually don't. You couldn't call one of those people at 3 o'clock in the morning with a flat tire somewhere out in the country. They're not going to come help you. You know that. The friend is going to get up out of bed, and he's going to come out there, and he's going to help you at 3 in the morning. That's the friend. So as he dug into the study and read some studies about this, he said beginning in the 1980s, this one psychologist said that study after study started showing that those who were more socially isolated were much more likely to die during a given period than their socially connected neighbors. Even after you corrected for age, gender, and lifestyle choices like exercising and eating right, loneliness has been linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke, and the progression of Alzheimer's. One study found that it can be as much of a long-term risk factor as smoking. That kind of blew me away right there. The research doesn't get any rosier from there. In 2015, a huge study out of Brigham Young, using data from 3.5 million people collected over 35 years, found that those who fall into the categories of loneliness, isolation, or even simply living on their own see risk of premature death rise 26 to 32%. So if these studies are valid, loneliness certainly is a health risk. And I've just highlighted some things. Let me keep going through here. They talk about depression, and they talk about people are comfortable saying they're depressed, but they're not comfortable saying they're lonely because you're the kid sitting alone in the cafeteria. How many people that you know would willingly say, well, that period of my life I was depressed, or, you know, last week I was severely depressed. People don't seem to have a problem with saying that. It's like acceptable, but you'll never hear one of your friends or family members, or I don't think you will, you'll never hear them say that they're lonely. So people aren't admitting to their loneliness. It says the silent majority of middle-aged men who won't admit that they're starved for friendship is a very high number. How many middle-aged men do you know that would come right out and say that, you know, they want more friends, or they don't have friends, or they're starved for the friendship of other dudes? You know, that's kind of what we do as we get older. You know, we like to know that we've kind of got, some people call it a tribe, you know, a network. We like to have other men, you know, in our little group that we can call on, go do stuff with, send text messages, just shoot the bull with. You know, all of us men need that, and if you don't have that, most of us wouldn't admit it anyway. And one of the things, I thought this was kind of cool, it says women can maintain friendships over the phone. That's true. I don't know if there's any research to prove that, but That's true. A woman can keep a friendship alive over the phone. So here's another interesting fact. So in the middle years of life, side-by-side opportunities to get together are exactly the sort of things that fall off. When you have a gap in your schedule, you feel bad running off with the fellas and leaving your partner alone. And the guys I'd like to spend time with are all locked in the exact same bind as me. Planning anything takes great initiative. And if you have to take initiative every time you see someone, it's easy to just let it disappear. How true is that? You got to take that initiative to go hang out with your buddies and your friends. And so many of us don't take that initiative. It's too much trouble, or it takes too much time, or I don't want to pick up the phone and make a call. So another guy that this editor, this writer was talking to, told him, said the best way for men to forge and maintain friendships is through built-in regularity, something that is always on the schedule. I tend to agree with that. If it's something that you're always doing, if you've made that time, if you carved out a block of time and you do it over and over, doesn't matter if it's a bowling league, once a month. That's one way to connect with your friends, and probably folks that do things like that, carve out these blocks of time, would not be as lonely. So here's another one that said, a few years ago, shortly after I'd moved from the city to Cape Ann to the North Shore, I took a kayaking class run out of a shop in Essex. At some time, the man who owned the place, an older guy named Ozzy, said something in passing about he couldn't do something because he had his Wednesday night. I was confused and I asked him what he was talking about, and he explained an idea to me that was so simple and profound that I resolved one day to steal it. He said Wednesday night was a pact that he and his buddies made many years before, a standing order that on Wednesday nights, if they were in town, they would get together and do something, anything. Do you have a standing pact with a group of your buddies? Regular time intervals that no matter what, y'all are going to get together? Okay, so that pretty much covers the meat of the article. I did not realize myself that being lonely was such an epidemic, but I got a feeling it probably is. Now, I've made myself a few notes that here's my thoughts on it. Unless you're dealing with some kind of mental issue, I feel that the majority of this loneliness that men may experience is probably self-inflicted. All right, let me say that again. Unless you're dealing with a mental issue, there's a good chance, I think, it's my opinion, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that. I think it's just self-inflicted, because I don't think in this day and time, unless you want to be lonely, there's just so much to do and so many people out there and so many avenues for you to go down. I don't think you have to be lonely. My number one tip, if I were giving someone advice, get off your butt and go do something. That's right, get off your butt, get off the recliner, get off the couch, go do stuff. That's probably the easiest way to not be lonely. Delete Facebook. Well, that might touch a lot of nerves. Some people may support that, other people may not. Delete your stupid Facebook. I have Facebook, but I use it for family. I got less than 10 Facebook friends. It's just the way I set it up. Years ago, I had, just like everybody else, I don't know, 300 or 400 people. It was ridiculous. I didn't even know half the people. Most of the people I would not go have dinner with. So, if you think Facebook friends are your friends, you are sadly mistaken. Probably the best piece of advice I could give you towards social media, get the hell off of Facebook. Go out and deal with people face to face. Okay, here's a biggie. If you follow this piece of advice that I'm going to give you, and you're lonely, you ain't going to be lonely very long, okay? Don't be the guy who never accepts an invitation. How many of you guys are sitting there, your buddies call, somebody sends you an email, text, whatever, they want to go do something. And you go, oh man, that would be great. Oh yeah, but I got to do this. I got to do that. You are never accepting of these invitations to go do stuff. When people, I tell people, I've told this for years. People say, hey, let's get together and go. I said, careful. You better be careful. You invite me to go do something, I'm going to go do it. And I think a lot of my friends would probably attest to that. They call me, hey, such and such, let's go do this, let's go fishing, let's go hiking, let's go whatever it is. I go. I just go. I try to, unless something in my schedule where I can't work it out, I go. I like hanging out with these people. They're my friends. I don't want to be lonely at home or doing whatever. I get off my ass, I reschedule my stuff, and I go. So don't be the guy that does not accept an invitation. And the last thing, and by the way, I hope y'all contribute to this into the comments, okay? Use YouTube, since this is a YouTube video, use YouTube as an inspiration to try new things. Don't use it as a reason to sit on the couch for hours, unless you're watching my videos. No, I'm just kidding. Don't use YouTube as a reason to sit on your butt for hours watching videos of other people with their friends doing stuff. All right? Don't be that person. Couches and recliners are probably the loneliest places on earth. Don't be that person. Get off your butt, go do stuff. I'm gonna wrap this one up. This is probably much longer than I meant to, but I was just fascinated by this article. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. The article will be in the description. Contribute to the conversation here. Let me hear what you guys think, all right? So until the next video, I'll see you soon.